Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Tuesday and it's the 16th of December. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. And today we'll start with the healthcare sector. Healthcare, here's Day Street Healthcare Select Sector is ETF. It's not to recommend it, it's just to demonstrate the sector that is bouncing quite strongly after started the December on the negative foot, but in the overall picture it's actually in a bullish trend, as we can see, and there is a potential to new higher highs here after RSI got back above 60 threshold on a daily. There's no divergence on the RSI, the positive RSI. And I'm not going to mention any or recommend any of the companies that was in there, but it was primarily driven by Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson that were lifted yesterday. So the healthcare sector seems to be fairly strong at the moment. It seems like maybe a little bit of safe haven for the investors after the semiconductor industry has been knocked down here the past few days. Here we can see the semiconductor index also lower yesterday. Not as much. There were a few that got beaten badly, but the Nvidia share price was lifted a little bit, but still it is very much under pressure. As we can see here, it actually closed below 176.76. The minor support there on Nvidia, the big one is down here on 170, but also very key to observe that the RSI actually did close below 40 threshold here Friday last week. So actually under pressure. You can see also below the cloud and below all moving averages apart from the 200 is coming up there. Then we had something that went against the trend yesterday. Once again, Tesla pushing very close to its all-time high. I did mention it yesterday, and also last week they talked about it. You see very close to its all-time high. That is around 488.5, and we are trading 475.30, and it gapped higher. And positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels on Tesla here in the coming days and weeks towards year end. Nasdaq 100 closed 0.5% lower yesterday, under pressure. However, we still have positive sentiment because the RSI closed above 60 threshold there. So there is a chance that we could turn around and move back above the cloud. We haven't turned berries or anything, but it is a little bit fragile. So the Santa Claus rally has not come into effect just yet. I mean, we did have a little bit here last week, but it is not that convincing that to say that we are a little bit under pressure. We can also see here pre-market we are pushing lower. The future is almost down 1%, and let's just add a Fibonacci to that one and see where we are. We can see that we are trading around the 50% retracement of this uptrend here at 24,882, dipping a little bit below. We could see it is sliding lower towards 24,700, 60, 50, 700, where we have some support. We have cloud support. We have the 100 moving average coming up. So there should be some support there and a possibly bounce if we dip to that level. S&P 500 closed just a tad lower after opening higher. So also here, positive sentiment on the RSI. We have the RSI closed above 60 threshold. So a little bit of fragile, I would say. And what we can do, we can add a support to here, 6,765. That's the lower part of that little gap area there. That could be key. Pre-market, though, we are sliding lower. Here is the future. And we can also add Fibonacci there. I'm just showing you how it's done. It's fairly easy. And there we are at 38.2 retracement, 6,774 at the moment. So a little bit fragile there. The Russell 2000 index also lower yesterday, and it is still in a bullish trend. However, it did form this bearish engulfing pattern there, but there's positive sentiment, no divergence on the RSI, indicating we could see a turning around. What is under pressure, really under pressure, is Hang Seng testing support there, 25,145 here this morning. Still, it stayed above a little bit, closed above. RSI negative though after closing below 40 threshold here, and if it does close back below again, then we could see a sell-off down to around 24,475. Nikkei also under pressure here the past few days, late last week and again this morning, and testing the 55 moving average. We could see it testing the 61.8 retracement there at 49,229. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, but it is a little bit of a concern. It got rejected the 60 threshold there. So what will it happen if it slides lower? That will be key here next couple of days. Will it bounce back, or will it push lower to test the 48,000 support? The EUROStoxx50 had a fairly good day yesterday. But still have this bearish candle here that looks a little bit topish, but RSI is still positive sentiment, despite the fact that we do have some divergence there. So a little bit on the knife's edge, I would say, but if it takes out the peak from the 12th at 5,795, well, then new all-time highs will be in the cards. But if it takes out the lows there from the 11th at 5,684, well, then we could see a further sell-off. However, we have the 55 moving average coming up here, giving some support. So I think we will have a fairly good end to the year on a EUROStoxx50, as it seems now at least. Here pre-market, we are just a tad lower, being dragged down by what's going on the US futures. The DAX index, yes, it is above the cloud, above 55, and the 100 moving average, also RSI in a positive sentiment, but it needs to really push higher. And let's see, is it just above? It did peak a little bit above that peak there. So we are actually in positive sentiment, bullish trend, but also here could be a little bit fragile. We could see it sliding lower a little bit here. And pre-market, we can see it setting back a little bit. Could test the cloud there, could test 55 moving average and the 100 moving average. And what I will do, I will put on another, oops, didn't hit that one, sorry about that. There we are. So could actually slide all the way down to the 38.2 retracement, 23,879. So a bit under pressure there, I would say, but we are still in a positive sentiment. On the FX market, hasn't been moving that much. We are in a bullish trend on the euro dollar. We are above the 60 threshold, meaning we are in a positive sentiment. So it looks fairly strong at the moment, and I think we will see a euro dollar crawling higher here in the coming days and weeks. And we can also draw a rising trend line there. It could bounce from it a little bit, but I think we'll see 118 plus being reached fairly soon on euro dollar. Again, this is not a recommendation or advice whatsoever to buy or anything. The sterling dollar, well, can't really, it's still hovering around these just below 134, it was buying a little bit above, but we have the 100 moving average coming around here, and I think it will slide off it and then point higher, especially if we can get this mojo back here and a push up to 135. It is in the cards, positive sentiment on the RSI, but it's just not right there yet. And if it slides back and take out to the downside at the low levels here around 132.85, well, then we could see a further setback. But for now, still bullish trend, and it seems to be building slowly higher. Euro sterling is the one moving at the moment, back above the cloud. RSI still positive sentiment above its falling trend line. If euro sterling moves back above 88 and RSI closes back above 60 threshold, then we have reversed this trend, or at least demolished the bearish trend. So we have reversed the trend to build a bullish trend. So that will be key towards the next few days. Dollar yen setting back further here. Once again testing the 38.2 retracement of this uptrend there. If it takes it out, well, then we could be looking at 152.80, but the 55 moving average coming up there, giving some support, and it just needs it needs to get back above 156.95 to reestablish the bullish trend, and that would take it higher above 158. The positive sentiment on the RSI telling us that will play out. So let's see about that. You can also draw a trend line from here to here. Say if it breaks above that trend line there, well, then it's a good chance that it will also break higher on the actual price graph. The Euro yen still in a bullish trend, although it's a little bit fragile with the declining RSI. As we can see, this one there. So declining RSI values, meaning uptrend exhaustion, but for now it's still holding on in a bullish trend, and that's what you should trust at all times. But there is some warning signs, and you should respect the warning signs. We could draw a trend line there also, and it could test that before bouncing higher. So let's see about that. So I would be a little bit cautious here. It needs to take out the peak there for a push higher towards 184 plus. So I think we'll see a little bit of setback. ASEAN, that has dipped lower. We talked about the past few days it could actually test the lower rising trend line there. We dipped below the 38.2 retracement. We could dip further to test the rising trend line, possibly even down to the 61.8 retracement there at 101.75. That could be in the cards, and then I think we'll see it bouncing. There is divergence on the RSI, as we can see though, meaning it is really stretched this uptrend. So be careful, it could actually slide lower than what we are talking about. Sterling yen hovering around 207.35. It is not a strong support in any means by any means. So I think we will see it sliding lower also, given the fact that you can see here we have divergence on the RSI values declining, indicating uptrend exhaustion. So we could actually see it setting back to the 205.20 level, where we have some stronger support, and the 38.2 retracement. If you're really short term trader also, you can also see the last leg up here. You can add Fibonacci to that and say, well, we actually dipped to 61.8 almost there, 61.8 retracement there, 206.60. So if it takes out that, then we are likely to see it down to 205. Aussie dollar, that has been stalling, but still positive sentiment and no divergence. I think we will see it pushing up to 67 and also a possibility to push it higher. Unless it starts taking out 66, then we could be in for a little bit further setback. That would not demolish the bullish trend though. It would just make the correction a little bit deeper than anticipated. Dollar Canada, pausing a little bit. I still believe we could see it dipping to 137.20, maybe even 137, and then a bounce. And the overall trend is bearish, and I think we are also bearish on the daily, on the weekly. We can see it here. RSI skidding off the 40 threshold, so that could be key towards the next couple of weeks. The market will become thinner and thinner in terms of volume up to year end. A lot of traders are closing the books for the year, so you will see more volatility, and it's easier to move the markets by other traders. So let's see here, can it turn around and also at least establish a correction that could possibly take it over. I'm not quite sure we'll get all the way up to 139 area here, where we have the 200 moving average coming down and the 38.2 retracement. But again, it is not unlikely to occur. I still think we could see it dip lower there. Sterling Canada, well, 183.20, key support area here. It needs to take that out for further downside, and you can see the 55 that broke below the 100 is pushing it lower, and maybe by end of week we have the 55 also breaking below the 200. They're both declining and I don't think we could see them turning around anytime soon. That will put a pressure on sterling Canada to the downside, and I think we could see in a couple of weeks maybe the dollar Canada lower towards 181 area. Swiss pairs, Euro Swiss, crawling higher. They also did it yesterday, then opening lower here, and there is room up to take out this peak there, given the fact that we have RSI in a positive sentiment, and it's crawling back now again above 60 threshold. So it's actually supporting higher levels, and I could see it up here to 94.40, 94.50 area. And if I do this also, maybe there will be some Fibonacci levels that will help me. Yeah, we have the 138.2 projection just around these resistance levels there. So that could be seen playing out towards the year ends. Dollar Swiss, of course, keeps bouncing a little bit, but still below the cloud, still under pressure. But key support here is 78.70. That should be observed. It did below the rising trend line, but this support there is a key. Dollar index testing the key support there at 97.81 yesterday. Could bounce a little bit, and again, if you're a very short-term trader, you want some levels, then you can add the Fibonacci to this, and we can maybe see it bouncing up to the 38.2 retracement here at 98.37, just below the 100 moving average. If it takes out the lows from yesterday, then I think we'll see it pushing below 97.5, and we are in a negative trend. We are in a sentiment, we are in a bearish trend, we are below the cloud, below all moving averages, and now also the 100 is starting to turn around, and I think we could see the dollar index pushing lower here in towards Christmas and also towards year end. Gold, well, after breaking out, it has taken some time and it's not really convincing. Yes, it spiked above here to the 38.2 extension of this triangle here at 4,348.60. But they got knocked back down again, so it's not that convincing. However, we are in a bullish trend, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. We also have the RSI in a positive sentiment. There's no divergence, so we should see gold crawling higher here in the coming days and weeks. But it just needs to take out the peak up there from yesterday or from Friday. Then 4,400 is likely to be tested, also taken out. But for now, keep an eye on and draw this trend line here. Also on the RSI, you see it's actually forming nicely. Could slide back and bounce off once again. That would be key to watch. Silver sitting back. Was higher here Friday, couldn't follow through yesterday. It is a little bit elevated, and we also have uptrend exhaustion just very short term, so we could maybe see a little bit of a setback. And if I just remove this one, because now we reached 200% of it, we could add Fibonacci also to the last leg up there, and maybe a little bit of a setback. It already did it there the other day. If it takes out that low, well, then we're looking at 59.55 to 61.8 retracement, just around 60. If we are measuring from the entire uptrend there, and that is a little bit more uncertain, but there is down to around 75.5 area. So be careful now. There is uptrend exhaustion, but if it takes out the peak there at 64.65, well, then we could be looking at 67.5 and possibly higher. Platinum is staying above its falling trend line, pushing higher, reached the 138.2 projection there at 18.26. If it takes out the peak from today, this morning, well, then we are looking at 1883, possibly above 1900. Very strong uptrend there indeed. Copper bouncing sideways really. 527 support. If it takes that out, well, then we could see a sliding back lower towards 515 and test the 55 moving average. The underlying trend is bullish. It's just a little bit for now fragile, and think the market will become thinner and thinner, so we could see a little bit more of sideways stepping here. However, if it takes out the peak there at 553, well, 561 is likely to be taken out, and we are back to these peaks here back from July earlier this year. On the energy side and crude oil, we have the WTI crude oil testing these lows here back from October, and I think we will see it down to around $55 here fairly soon, possibly this week. We can see here on the weekly really bearish trend, and 55 is in the cards, and possibly also lower for WTI crude oil. Let's see, we probably have to go even further back to see some levels, and we're back to 2021 area to see levels like that again. Brent crude oil, obviously the same picture, testing the $60, could slide down to 58.40, possibly lower. We are in a bearish trend on both medium term and short term. On the Dutch gas or EU gas, that couldn't hold on after opening higher yesterday, sliding back, so the downtrend is intact, and we are looking at lows here back from 2024 last year in February, where it was down to around 22.30 level. The NatGas, US NatGas, keeps sliding back after this massive rally it did over the November and into December month, but then it got hit by selling pressure, and now we are testing 61.8 retracement there at 388, just below the 55 moving average. The RSI is back below the 40 threshold, meaning we are in a negative sentiment, indicating we could see lower levels, and it's not unlikely it slides back further to 360, 358, and the 200 moving average and the 100 moving average. So keep an eye on that, but it's a little bit oversold now, but there is potential lower, maybe even down to 345. On the yield side, we have the US Treasury yields not really showing much, just stabilized. It's still 420, 421 key resistance. The Euro 10-year dancing sideways above 283. There's still potential higher. Positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating higher levels. But I would add this one here to say, well, maybe we could see it sliding down to 280. The UK 10-year, not much to say. Still this maybe forming a triangle-like pattern there just below the 55 moving average, keeping it down there. And the Japanese 10, well, I still believe we'll see 2% being tested. When it's hard to say, but positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating just that. Bitcoin took out 87,730, and it is now in a bearish trend, and reconfirmed by RSI back below 40 threshold. So I think we'll see Bitcoin sliding lower here towards the previous lows here at 80,000 and a half, possibly over the next few days. Also dragging the Ethereum with it, could be testing the 2620 low there fairly soon. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you again tomorrow.